At the end of the show, the front of stage curtain closed. While the audience applauded with vigor, the cast dispersed for the inter-show break. Only Elise remained on stage. "I wonder what she's doing," said Artie. The cast and crew had vacated the wings as well for the time being, leaving Artie and Mariel alone there. Elise, script still in hand, was backing toward the rear of stage curtain. She glanced behind her momentarily when she reached the wall, verifying that she was aligned with the invisible boundary where the two halves of the curtain met. Then she dropped the script and faced forward again, putting her hands on her knees and pointing her ass backward. "Sexy," mumbled Artie. Mariel's hand had entered his trousers at the waist. Now she hooked her fingers down into his briefs, and his cock, making its initial curve toward his latest erection, swept up to meet them, playing host to the guests in his underwear. "Look," Mariel said suddenly. A figure was emerging from behind the curtain. Mickey. As had clearly been arranged beforehand, he seated himself under Elise, who widened her stance to make room for him. While Artie and Mariel looked on with interest, Mickey reached up to finger the star's pussy, a pussy that they knew, courtesy of the fragrant evidence still in Artie's pocket, to be gloriously naked beneath the skirt. After a minute, Mickey scooted down further, pulling Elise downward with him so that she straddled his face in a close thigh hug. "See?" whispered Mariel. "I told you he was keeping a low profile." The face of Elise Heffernan being tongued to orgasm by the head-giving head writer had to be the most compelling thing that had ever appeared on this stage, thought Artie. Elise, one could tell, approached every climax with the control and self-assurance with which a painter approached a blank canvas. The artistic mastery expressed in her face was overlaid with sensory pleasure, burgeoning arousal, and erotic anticipation. Hers was the fiery-eyed face of a genius, watching her creation come to life exactly as she had envisioned it. As Artie watched the star's tongue glide over her lipstick, and her nostrils flare with stately sensuality, and her cheeks flush the prettiest nipple pink, his cock danced in Mariel's grip. And though the portrait of ecstatic womanhood he was studying was a portrait of Elise, the aroma of aroused womanhood enveloping him was the aroma of Mariel. And when he and Elise came, together but separately, his orgasm pointed toward one thing, making Mariel come just as hard. She withdrew her hand from Artie's shorts and wiped it dry on the fabric. "Come on," he said, wrapping his own hand around the still slightly sticky feminine fingers. He led her into the corridor and toward a small office that Mickey had shown him earlier, which, though unoccupied after business hours, was left unlocked in case anyone needed pads, pencils, and the like. "Need any pads or pencils?" asked Artie, after they'd locked the door. "I need a pencil, all right," said Mariel. "A big, fat jumbo pencil, right up my—" Before she could even finish the line, he had her bent over a desk. "Hold that thought, and that position," he said. Then he crouched down to slide her panties off, kissing her liberally on her stockinged calves, while he lifted one Mariel foot, then the other, to remove her pussy-painted underpants. "Lise left, Mary right," he said to himself mnemonically, situating Mariel's panties in the jacket pocket not occupied by those of their friend. Then he moved on to the trouser pocket that held the nearest rubber. She wiggled her derriere. He lifted her skirt and stroked her pouting lips, feeling how ready she was. She turned her head to watch him, her mouth open with want, as he outfitted himself with the condom. Then he braced himself on her hip and plunged in, letting her feel every bit of him sinking into her tunnel. He groped her adorable ass while they fucked. "I love you," he chanted, riding the rhythm of his own thrusts. "Oh," was all Mariel could manage, but he knew what she meant. He bounced against her bottom. He fingered her lips where they ringed his cock, then spread her juices to her clit. The stiff little button became his entire focus, and he swirled the honey onto, over, under, and around it until he felt her cunt clenching in what could only be the uncontrolled spasms of climaxing woman. He danced with Mariel, pelvis to ass cheeks, to wallow along with her, his modest dose of second-round spunk stuttering into the rubber deep inside her. Their breathing filled the soundscape of the little office for several minutes as they recovered from the romp. "What do you say we get a bite to eat?" Mariel suggested after a while. "We still have a couple of hours before the West Coast broadcast. I can't wait to do everything all over again." "Every bit of it?" grinned Artie. "Every bit of it," answered Mariel.